Hi everyone, I just wanted to do a video. I know I'm in the bathtub, but like, I just don't feel like I need to put makeup on and talk about this person I'm gonna be talking about in this video, because he is a liar, he's corrupt, and he, you know, tries to silence people who talk about truth. And when he tries to silence you, he'll backstab you with lies, even though he's never talked to you before. And that's a very weak, those are like weak tactics that, and I already know he doesn't believe in God, just how he acts, because he's so tyrannical and he's like all over the place, and he can't even talk about facts. He just, you know, manufactures what other people say. He's a show monkey. So you know who we're going to talk about already. We're going to talk about Donald Trump Jr. I'm going to talk about what I experienced with that tyrant, that lying tyrant. I want to talk about it in detail. So let's get down to the basics. So, alright, so as far as my videos and exposing things that were happening to me, you know, I was getting attacked and stuff. He goes and tells everybody I'm fake and to ignore me. To ignore me. Meanwhile, as I'm trying to reach out for help and send videos and talk about what I'm dealing with, it's basically, you know, organization getting hijacked by communism, just like everything else in this country, and just like how communism's trying to hijack Catholicism. So, so he tells everybody just to ignore me, and that I'm an actress. Meanwhile, that shithead would take, I've already said this, things from my videos, make it his own, and go on Fox. So, you know, he has a problem with abuse. He lies about people, he slanders and defames people, and then he'll go and like rob them, because he's too much of a weak ass, he's lazy, to know what's really going on in the world. You know, just because his dad was president, you know, he thinks, you know, he tells himself he's so smart. He couldn't debate me. I'm going to tell you right now, Donald Trump Jr. couldn't debate me on anything, because he's stupid. And I'm just going to say it. So I want to talk more about this. So he did that to me for months, and meanwhile I'm getting attacked, my life is in danger, and on a daily basis, and you know, that jerk, that's how he operates, and he does that to everybody in his life. If he feels you're a threat and you know more than him, or you actually lived some real ish and he hasn't, he'll try to discredit you with lies to everybody around him. And then when you're actually having contact, you're making contact with certain governors and senators, and you're praising them for their good work because it gives you hope in the dire, dark situation you live through, like me. He'll go and suggest I'm hitting on them. You know, so these poor guys have to start putting pictures up of them and their wives. That's how fucking twisted and stupid. And you know, Donald Trump Jr. is so inferior. This guy needs to be gulping down some inferiority, anti-inferiority pills every fucking day, because he's fucking stupid. He's stupid. He's worthless to this country, and he's a show monkey. All he does is, you know, he wants to hustle the American people with his stupid ass books, but he's a show monkey. He doesn't do nothing. He just regurgitates information other people say. That's all that asshole does. And he'll steal your shit and discredit you, stab you in the back, and then he'll say stuff about you that's not true at all. So people will be wary of you, or not take you seriously, or discredit you. That's how Donald Trump Jr. operates. He's a little bitch. I would say he's worse than Joe Rogan. You know, Donald Trump Jr. makes Joe Rogan look halfway decent. I'm just going to be honest. So let's move on to what else this asshole did to me. So fast forward, a lot of people in America was mourning the fact that our president had the election stolen from him. I'm one of them. I had a real hard time with it. And also I get certain energy and information from the universe time to time about our president. And I get affected by it. It affects me. Because I don't have no power. There's nothing I can do. So it's, you know, anyways, Don Jr. will put, you know, like this tracking. He'll hack into your phone. He'll hack into your phone so everyone can hear you use the bathroom, listen to you, what you do in the bathroom, and he thinks it's funny. You know, so you have people in the inner circles that you maybe you look up to or whatever. They give you hope in this world. And he'll go and like, he'll let them listen to you when you take a bath or use the bathroom. And Don Jr. thinks he's so smart. You know, this guy makes Pelosi, he makes Schumer look like the fucking girl in Boy Scouts. Don Jr. is the biggest fucking rhino. He's a pervert and he's a fucking liar. He's a fraud. He's a show monkey. It doesn't even end there. So, as a lot of people were mourning what happened with President Trump and the fraud election and everything, Don Jr., I don't know, it was Guilfoyle, that evil bitch. They had somebody approach me on Twitter to befriend me. And then they had me, which I don't like doing. I don't like just being friends with anybody because if you're stupid, I don't want to, like, I don't want to be exposed to that. But this person portraying themselves, Alyssa, whatever the hell her name is, I don't even think that's a real account, but she befriended me. And she's like, oh, well, now you have to add all my friends. And so all they were like Don Jr.'s fake accounts, people that think he's God, that think like actually are his little slave puppets, and pundits, you know, pundits. So, you know, they surrounded me and were just, you know, I would get these messages, oh, like, oh, you know, really know how to tweet. You have great information to tweet. They were like, you know, patronizing me, being assholes. But at the same time, everything I would say or things I would say, they would use for themselves because that's the way these assholes are. And so I get onto Twitter and I started seeing these photos, and there's photos of animals being tortured. There's these pigs being roasted alive. And Don Jr. knows, it's no secret, I respect God and I respect Mother Nature. You know, Don Jr. is surrounded by all that forest. I don't doubt for a second he gets pleasure torturing those animals, because there's pictures being put on Twitter for me to see of animals being roasted alive and screaming. That's the asshole Don Jr. is. But he can't do it. He can't do it from his own account because he's a bitch. He's a bitch. So, you know, that really, really depressed me, messed me up, because I was already depressed because President Trump had the election stolen from him. And then there was another picture put up where it was like this woman had these deformed lips, and it was like there was an animal. She was standing next to an animal who had like a deformed back, like the butt of the animal, the back end of the animal was deformed, like her lips. That, you know, when Don Jr. is the sickest piece of shit. This guy is so dark, and he's a coward. So that's the shit I was putting up with. And then his little pundits, you know, anything I would say, not everything, but certain things, like one of his stupid pundits was like, oh, that's a great thing you said, you know, that's like something we don't hear on the news. And there, you know, there's like, they were siphoning off information so they can use it. Don Jr. is a snake, and he's worthless. And if I was Donald Trump, I would have to literally get like mental help for having a shithead of a child. You know. And Donald Trump Jr. is a rhino. He's a traitor to our country. And that bitch, I never did nothing to him. I think I did a video talking about one of his speeches, and I just wanted to be positive about the family because I believe in his father. I don't believe in him. I believe in his father. All right, so what else? Oh, so then they started like, you know, they would make comments to me. Oh, you're not law-abiding. You should have been a law-abiding citizen. You're not law-abiding. And this bitch don't even know what's going on in my life. This asshole has his father to bail him out of problems when he's being an asshole, when he's doing things he's not supposed to be doing with money laundering. His father will scoop up in there, save the fucking day, and do some damage control for that fucking shithead. All right? So when you're someone like me who can't afford a lawyer, and there's no evidence, there's nothing showing you're guilty of it, but you just get charged anyways, you get threatened and charged, and this dick, this asshole, spreads rumors I'm not law-abiding. Has he ever been drugged after having one drink at a bar? Has he? Hey, this guy doesn't know shit. All right, this guy, he's an asshole. So what else? So then, like, you know, because Don Jr. will hack your phone and like they'll listen to me singing, they know I can sing. And that's another thing about that asshole. He's telling everyone I'm trying to be a celebrity. I'm going to tell you something, Don Jr. I've dated people in the industry that are way more successful than you'll ever be on their own. They have more talent and they're pinky than you do in your fucking whole body. So, you know, when Don Jr. is like, oh, she's just trying to be an actress. And, you know, I'm sorry I may have more talent than you. I'm sorry that I can sing and you can't do shit. You sit back and you insult people that you know. You know, if I did have a manager, if I actually pursued it. You know, one of the people I was involved with was a runway model. He was a runway model. We lived together. And he's messed up in the head because he got raped when he was little. He got raped when he was 4 by a neighbor. And his parents didn't do nothing about it. So, you know, Don Jr. tries to act like, you know, he's Mr. Hollywood and he's Mr. Political, gonna be Mr. President. When that motherfucker's, he's so low down and dirty, he has to hack your phone. He has to share that information with everybody. And I have nothing to be embarrassed about. Oh, he thinks it's funny because I'm on the toilet. They can hear me. He thinks it's funny because I'm singing. I know. This guy's such a dick. He's a predator. He needs to be behind bars, that faggot. So anyways, they had this guy singing on Twitter, and he definitely had natural talent, and I said that. And then they would try to rub it in my face. Oh, yeah, well, someone's going to be knocking on his door. And let me tell you something, Don Jr. If I actually wasn't getting gang-stalked, if I wasn't getting assaulted, if my life wasn't taken over by assholes, and then I got you hacking into my phone, sharing that information with people that I follow online, you know, Don Jr. belongs behind bars. So what else did he do? So, you know, he would make comments about the fact that I, you know, may have talent and he doesn't. And I don't brag about it. I don't talk about it because my life has been damaged so much by gang stalking, by being attacked, by being crucified for the fact that I'm Catholic, I'm not a Scientologist, for the fact that, yeah, I did bachelor parties and I did massage, and, you know, when you work at businesses, there's contracts, there's code of ethics, there's code of conduct. You have to abide by these contracts. And when you have clients that make an appointment for a party, or they like want to see a therapist, and they go in, and after the fact they act like they're entitled because they know people and judges, they know people in society, they're used to abusing their power and having what they want. When they abuse people like that, they take people down, and before you know it, you know, you have another asshole coming to your house who who has, you know, connections to the corrupt law enforcement throughout the United States. He has friends throughout the United States in law enforcement that are also detectives, that are corrupt. And this particular guy kills people. He raped me. He actually made it sound like when he contacted me that he was going to help me because I was being falsely accused and falsely arrested for upholding the laws of that govern certain businesses I was involved in, and I represented those companies. So, you know, you have these monsters that will start just having each business you work at or go whatever shut down. Because those guys didn't get what they wanted. And they know better. Because if they would ask those things when they're talking to the company, when they're talking to the booker, when they're talking to the receptionist, if they would ask those things up forward, they know they would get hung up on. Or they would be warned that's not what goes on. They got to go somewhere else. It's Los Angeles. Go to an escort site. You know, so you got these assholes that know people. Before you know it, they have the whole fucking city gang stalking, assaulting your ass. So, you know, when you piss off two entities, you piss off, what is it, the mob, the communist mob, that is the underbelly of corruption in this world and that has connection to corrupt law enforcement. You know, and Don Jr., this guy doesn't even know what the fuck's going on when he walks across the street. He has no idea what's going on around him because of the life his father gave him. But he wants to be the judge of everyone when he's the judge of everything and he doesn't know shit. That is Don Jr. for you. Okay, so anyways, you know, they're throwing comments in my face about that person having talent, which he did. That young guy had talent. So, you know, you have Don Jr. trashing you like left and right. And when you call him out, when you call that bitch out and you call out his skanky ass girlfriend who is a loser, she had to harass women at Fox to sleep with her. Let me tell you something. As a woman, it's not hard to have sex with someone. But when you're picky like me, I can't even stand to be in the same room as people that are ignorant and are abusive to other people. I can't even be around evil like that because I'm very sensitive to the energy in this world. I have a gift Don Jr. doesn't even know about. He doesn't know nothing. He's a dick. So when him and his stupid ass girlfriend walk around and you know, they don't know nothing. They're just show monkeys. They're not doing nothing for society but blowing air up people's asses. And then he goes and hacks your phone. And, you know, there's somebody, I'm not going to mention the TV show. I'm not going to mention the person. You know, they couldn't control themselves because Don Jr. puts fake, he slanders your name so bad, he gets people to turn against you. So, and I'm not even going to talk about that situation, so I'll just fast forward, but... what else? So he put up these pictures of these animals, these videos of these animals suffering, being abused. If he sees that other people are paying attention to you, he'll say something to them to where it's like, oh, she's hitting on you or whatever. No, Don Jr. I actually praise people who do their job in government. I praise them and I thank them for giving people like me hope. Don Jr. doesn't understand that. Everything's about sex. Everything's about money. Everything's about him trying to, you know, squash people's rights, squash people's voices, squash people's hearts and minds so he can uplift himself because if we peel back the layers on Don Jr., he's stupid as fuck. He's dumb. He's an asshole. He has nothing to offer society. And if it wasn't for his father, that dickhead would be fucking smoking crack in some fucking hotel that's probably violates every code violation, building violation. That's Don Jr. So that's you know, what else? So he's like the biggest criminal. He's the biggest bullshitter. And oh yeah, so anyways, when you start calling him out, okay, so when he starts attacking our great governors, like Greg Abbott of Texas, he starts attacking Ted Cruz, these very people that work their ass off to deal with the left radical agenda, Democrats that are destroying our country right now. When you have Don Jr. attacking these people, oh, let me back up a little bit. So I praised Ted Cruz, and again, to get people to have them turn against me. Don Jr. on the back end will suggest to them that I'm hitting on them. I'm not hitting on them. I'm making a valid judgment as a citizen that I'm thankful. And I said Ted Cruz was irreplaceable. And because Don Jr. and his stupid ass girlfriend had me like on Twitter surrounded by their friends and their little pundits and their people that with fake accounts to kind of control me and take the information I was saying, and they saw that I praised Ted Cruz. I thanked him. I said he was irreplaceable. Don Jr. and oh my God, like they went crazy. They were like, oh, Ted Cruz, he's replaceable. But like they just started attacking Ted Cruz. They were attacking Greg Abbott. When I was saying the weather that was going on, these attacks of weather, like in Texas being frozen over, is done because we have machines that can manipulate the weather that's supposed to be used for good, to help our world when we don't have rain, so we don't die of not having water. Well, we have these mass machines, these mechanisms that can help humanity. And instead, the corruption, the communism in this world right now is using them to punish Texas, because Texas has governors. They have people in our government that think and speak for themselves, and they protect their citizens. And you know what communism does? You know what Biden does? His whole corruption. They start using these very mechanisms, these machines, called, one of them's called HAARP, HAARP or something. They start abusing these machines to freeze over Texas. And I know what's going on. It's other people know what's going on. So I'm going to call it out and say it, because I'm a victim in my life on many fronts. I've been attacked. I've been almost murdered. And then I got Donald Trump being a predator on Twitter, acting like he owns me. And I can't praise Ted Cruz, and I can't call out our communist government for freezing over Texas. And so he has one of his people on Twitter tell me I can't be saying that. That's Don Jr. That's what he does. And then he goes after Greg Abbott of Texas. He goes after Ted Cruz and says they're responsible for Texas freezing over. That's the shithead Don Jr. is. He protects the dark agenda in this world, destroying our world right now, because he has ties to Pelosi, he has ties to AOC. And when you call him out, I called him out because he's trying to spread disinformation. He uses his notoriety, his fame, which his dad gave him. He hasn't earned nothing in this world, and he uses it to spread information to his followers. And that is, I can't even tell you how huge of a sin that is. What a disservice he does to humanity by doing that. So, I was like, what's going on with Don Jr.? And then someone was like, oh, he's a snake. Yeah, he's attacking our great governors and our senators that are saving our country, that work their ass off to do something. Don Jr. don't do shit. He gets up, he wipes his fucking ass once. He pulls up his pants, he goes on social media, and he's just a show monkey. He just regurgitates what other people are saying. Because he has no power. He has nothing. And he protects the dark agenda, destroying our country right now. And then he has to stomp all over me because this guy he's so inferior to anybody who may know more than him, who's lived through it. I've lived through it. I've experienced it. I deal with it on a daily basis. And this guy will try to defame you and trash you, but he wants you near him till he can use you to profit off of you. And that's how that snake works. And then he goes on the back end and stabs Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, and our great governor, Greg Abbott of Texas. And you know, when I called him out, when I called Don Jr. for doing that on Twitter, and I said President Trump deserves 3 extra awards. I forgot what they're called now, but like the peace, for creating peace. You know, forgot what they're called, but I said, you know, President Trump deserves like 3 extra awards for having a shithead son like Don Jr. When you have a child that demonic, that evil on the back end, and then he'll go praise AOC. He'll go praise AOC, and AOC is like, oh, let all these immigrants come into our country, and Don Jr. will go praise her, and then he'll go attack Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott of Texas. That's the fucking asshole Don Jr. is. And when I called him out on his fraud and what he's been doing to me, and he does it to everybody because he's childish. He's stupid. He's dumb. That asshole had me removed off of Twitter. So this jerk takes part in censorship and silencing people who call him out. He's a jerk. He's weak. And I'm not going to put effort into putting makeup on, doing my hair to talk about that asshole. I'm not. He's a jerk. And I'm not going to try to make this video perfect because, anyways, when you have a shithead for a child like that, and our president is already surrounded by rhinos who backstab him left and right, and you got a son that works against the family on the back end and profits off of it, because at the end of the day, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to hurt President Trump, but when you got a person like Don Jr. who's a piece of shit like that motherfucker was like he's so rotten. He's rotten. He's a jerk. I don't trust that guy around children or animals. He has no business being surrounded by all that forest in what is it, Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. I feel sorry for those animals that live in that forest. He calls himself a hunter. He probably goes, this guy putting photos or videos of pigs being roasted alive. It was him. He's a jerk. He needs to be investigated. And I also said that on Twitter. I told O'Keefe he needs to be investigated. And all of a sudden, O'Keefe starts having problems with his funding, his nonprofit. Anyways, Don Jr.'s a dick. He's stupid. I can see right through him. He can't be trusted. And these pundits, so I got this request by this pundit to get interviewed, and this pundit was completely disrespectful to me. He thinks he knows what's going on in the world when he hasn't lived it. And these people are the people who don't know much, but they act like they do. They're the most judgmental, and they're the most flawed in their judgments. And when you call these people out and you question him, do you have any relation? Do you have any connection, affiliation with Don Jr.? Because I will not ever do business with anything affiliated with Don Jr. And that jerk tells me, oh, well, my name's Don, but doesn't mean I'm related. Like, he has to give you some dumbass response. I already knew what time it was. And then Don Jr. has his pundits surround me on Twitter so they can look at what I'm writing, because Don Jr., he's a snake. Anyways, I'm done. I think my video is going to end because I've been talking for like a half hour. Yeah, Don Jr., he's a piece of shit. He's an asshole. And I'm going to say it. All right, bye, guys. I'm going to finish my bath. Bye, guys. God bless you guys. I'll see you next time on the next video.